We're going to move on with Chapter 10 and talk about volume instead of surface area. No longer are we working with the surface of prisms and cylinders. For example, I'm not thinking about this net that's unfolded and finding the area of every surface and adding it together. Instead, volume's what's on the inside. So we're going to be finding the volume of rectangular prisms, of triangular prisms, and the volume of cylinders, the stuff that's on the inside. There's one generic formula that you can use for all three of these, and that's going to be the area of the base times the height of the prism. So if we're working with a rectangular prism, you're going to find the area of whatever the base is, so base times height, and multiply that times the height of the prism. So this is the generic formula where capital B is used to represent the area of the base. H is for height of the prism, and V stands for volume. So there's a difference between a lowercase b and an uppercase b. Let's start with prisms. Well, let's start with rectangular prism. I'm going to change the heading. Rectangular prism. Because the base of a rectangular prism is a rectangle, this capital B is going to be replaced with the formula for area of a rectangle. Notice I'm using a lowercase b. So this right here replaces this. And then you're going to multiply that times the height of the prism, times h. Okay, so this formula you can think of base times height, or some people use length times width times height. It means the same thing. So how do we do this? Let's get a prism here. I'm going to draw the base. It's a rectangle. The other faces, and the base in the background. So this is an 8 centimeter by 6 centimeter by 4 centimeter. What you're going to do is you're going to write down the original formula, plug in the information. Technically this right here represents the base, so I'm going to use 6 times 8, and then you're going to multiply it times the height of the prism. The good news is because you're multiplying all three numbers, it doesn't matter the order in which you put the numbers. Excuse me. So 6 times 8 times 4. The volume equals 192 centimeters, and because we're working with 3 dimensions now, our answers are going to be cubed. I'd like you to try this problem. We have a 3 by 8 by 10. Push pause, try this now. What I'd like you to see is put down the original formula and then plug in the information. So I'm going to use this 8 by 3 and multiply that times the height, this 10. Notice I used every number once. 8 times 3 times 10. Guess I could have done that one in my head. 8 times 3 is 24, times 10 is 240. Triangular prisms are going to be done very similarly. Okay, so if the generic formula for prisms is the area of the base times the height of the prism, what we're going to do is we're going to use the area of the base formula, 1/2 base times height, and multiply that times the height of the prism. So this formula is going to look like this. The area of the base times the height of the prism. So this is the area of the base, height of the prism. Let's try one. If I'm going too fast, it's okay to push pause and finish drawing. I'm going to start by writing down the formula. Now I'm going to plug in the information. Remember that this is for your base. This is the base of the triangle. So I'm going to put in 1/2 times the base of the triangle times the height of the triangle, 10, times the height of the prism, 15. Similarly to the rectangular prisms, notice I use each number once. So if you happen to mix up the numbers, it's going to be okay because you're just multiplying anyways. If you want to put this all into your calculator, you would do 0.5 for 1/2, 0.5 times 8 times 10 times 15. Maybe you can do this in your head, so you do 1/2 of 8 is 4, and 4 times 10 times 15, or 1/2 of 10, whatever is easier. So 0.5 times 8 times 10 times 15 equals 600. Again, this is three-dimensional, so we are using cube as a label. We're going to try another one. Oops. 4 yards. Okay, so after you have this drawn, push pause and try it on your own. Start by plugging or writing down the information. Area of the base times the height of the prism. So the base triangle is right here. So the base of the base is 6, and the height of the base, the triangle, is 4, times the height of the prism, which is 9. If you happen to put them out of order, your answer is still going to be correct. Did you get 108 yards cubed? So we've done a rectangular prism and we've done a triangular prism. I highly suggest that you put these formulas on a note card for your test. Okay, let's do a cylinder. A cylinder is still going to have this generic formula where we're finding the area of the base, so we're using area of a circle, pi r squared, and then we're going to multiply it times the height of the cylinder. So if we're following those rules, the area of the base is pi r squared, and we're going to multiply that times the height of the cylinder. Pi is still going to be represented by 3.14, and remember that radius is half of a diameter. They're using r, not d for diameter. Okay, so I'm going to start by writing the formula down, pi r squared h, and then plugging in the information, 3.14, the radius is 5, and the height of the cylinder is 15. So in my calculator, I push 3.14, 5 squared, and 15. Make sure you read the directions. If they ask you to round somewhere specifically, please follow that. I'm just going to write down everything that I have here because I have no specific directions. They might ask you to round to the nearest whole number. They might ask you to round to the nearest 10th or 100th. Just do whatever it asks when it comes to rounding. This isn't going to really be drawn to scale. I'm going to do a very good job. Okay, find the volume of this cylinder. Push pause and try that now. Always start by identifying your formula. Then plugging in the information. Radius this is not a radius. This is a diameter. A radius is half the diameter. So this half of 6 is 3. So this is 3 and this is 3. Our radius is 3, not 6. 3.14, 3 squared, 6. Again, make sure you're reading directions about where they want you to round. I'm just going to write down everything because in the notes I didn't have specific directions. You're going to want to write down this formula on your note card.